must say, I'm quite sceptical about a lot of products, but these are brilliant.
Hello YouTube, good morning and welcome to my review and install guide of Oxford motorbike heated grips. So winter time is well and truly arriving here in the UK now. I went out for my first ride in the proper cold the other day. I've got no proper winter gear, so I just went out in my summer thin leather gloves and my fingers absolutely froze. By the time I got to work I wanted to cut them off, the pain was so much. So I've decided to dig into my pocket and get something to rectify that. There's a number of different things you can do to keep your hands warm in the winter. You can get thick winter gloves, you can even get electrically heated winter gloves, you can get bar muffs to keep your hands in, and you can get heated grips obviously, or you can use a combination of those things. So I've gone for these Oxford branded heated grips. They come in a range of different models. The ones I've gone for are the sports one, which means there's not too much raised sort of grip surface, but they should be still quite adequate and quite comfortable. They do a number of other types as well. I believe if you look on the back you can see they do sports, cruiser, ATV, adventure, scooter, commuter and touring. And I think all that really relates to is the type of surface on the grip and the depth of the tread. So without further ado, let's open up the box, see what you get. So the first thing that strikes me on getting all this kit out is it seems quite quality, not like some cheap products you can get from abroad and on the internet. You obviously get a left hand and a right hand grip with a nice rubber texture and embossed Oxford logo. You get a heat controller with a number of settings. I'll go into more detail on that in a bit. You get a little tube of super glue and some cable ties. I'm guessing that's for installing the grips after you've removed the old ones. Some different mounts and brackets. A cable to go through your battery to connect the rest of the system. Comes with an inline fuse as well. And a proper manual. So the heat controller then comes with just two buttons, positive and negative, and a range of heat settings from 30 up to 100%. There are a number of different ways you can install this. People talk of putting in a relay or wiring it via the rear light so that when you turn the bike off it definitely cuts power to the grips and doesn't kill your battery. However, I've read online that this system is pretty good, and if it's not detected and used for a while, it does shut down, and if you put it to its minimum setting it does draw zero current from the battery. So I'm just going to wire it in exactly as it suggests. I'm going to cable the two handlebars together and then just run a wire from the handlebars straight to the battery and trust the system to do its job. So initial impressions are good. Next stage, installation. Bike I'll be installing these grips on is my Yamaha XSR700. Step one is to remove the bar end weights, sticking an Allen key and loosening off the weight. So after loosening off the weight with a very odd sized Allen key, it seems to unscrew very easily. This is a pretty new bike, so everything should be quite fresh. It's just a simple weight, simple screw thread, threads into the end. Now I insert a thin bladed screwdriver between the two sheaths, work it round in a circle, use a bit of oil, slide the old grip off. So now I've used a little screwdriver to squirt a bit of WD-40 in between, waggled it around a bit, and hopefully that's lubed it up enough. See, will it just pull off? Yep, it's coming. I have to use two hands, so I have to put the camera down. And with a bit of waggling and screwdrivering, it's come off fairly easily. Now to test fit the new grip. Right, so the new grip goes on pretty easily. Now's the risky part, because you've got to get it done very quickly. Make sure all the old oil residue is completely clean off from the handlebar. And now I'm going to apply a little bit of super glue, shove the new grip on after I've made sure the cabling's in the position that I want it. And then it recommends leaving it to set for 24 hours. And that went on pretty easily. So now I just need to put the bar end weight back in, tighten it up, and do the same for the other side. And as if by magic, the left hand side is on as well. Now, two areas you might be able to learn from my mistakes. Be very careful with the super glue, especially on the throttle. I seem to have had some that's kind of seeped on the left hand side of the throttle, which is kind of making it a bit sticky to turn the throttle. And also these grips are slightly long for the bike, which means the rubber is pushing up against the bar end, again making it difficult to twist. You obviously want this to be completely free twisting with no sticking whatsoever. So I'm going to take a small knife blade, well, you could probably use a razor blade or just a normal knife, and just trim about 2mm off the rubber on the end to allow it to move a lot freer. So after a quick trim and tidying up some of the glue, the throttle now opens and closes very smoothly. So I can immediately see that the new grips are a much nicer finish, much better texture than the old Yamaha ones, which did have quite a cheap, fairly uncomfortable feel to them. So good riddance to them. Next, I'm going to install and position the heat controller. And after much trial and error, this is the best mounting position I've come up with for the brackets. You might be able to find a better one. I think in an ideal world you'd probably purchase your own U-bolt and put the bracket on separately on the handlebars. What I've done though is I've replaced the two bolts for the right hand switchgear assembly with the one supplied with the bracket. I've got a spacer, then a washer, then the bracket, then the bolts. I'm going to put the control device on top of this. What I'm going to consider doing is trying to bend this bracket down so it sits at a better angle. I'm going to have to be careful because I don't want to bend any of the threads on the screws or anything like that. So we'll see how easy it goes. If it doesn't bend easily, I have to take it away to a workshop and get it bent in a proper press. But let's see what happens next. Well, as it turns out, the bracket bent very easily by hand. So all I need to do now is put the sticky pad on top and mount the controller to the top surface. So now that's all installed, time to move on to wiring the thing up. So first things first, off with the seat. And to get to the battery, which is underneath this tool set, I need to remove these 4 screws here to get this bracket off, and also the 2 that hold the tool case in position. So starting at the top with the handlebar and heat control wiring, I've tried to follow the original wiring loom as much as possible. So I've got the handlebar wires coming together behind the clock, down, joining the rest of the wiring loom, and all the connectors seem to come together around here. So I'm going to try and connect them together and then remove one of these panels, tuck it all away and tape up all the loose wires, cable tying them to the handlebars so it's neat and they don't rub against each other, causing any sort of hazard. And removing the side panel reveals plenty of space to tuck all the connectors in, which I've taped up as you can see there. Main wiring loom goes around the bike. I don't know if you can see very well from this video, but it seems to go underneath the fuel tanks and then back to the battery. So to run these wires properly, you probably need to remove the fuel tank and follow the wiring loom back to the battery. I can't really be bothered to do that right now though, so I'm going to tuck them in as much as I can out of the way, put the panel back on and run the final cable just around the frame of the bike, and then at a later date when I take the fuel tank off for some other work or when I've got a bit more time on my hands, I'll run it all properly. But I'll cable tie up everything up so it doesn't rub, so hopefully we'll get no short circuits. So now that cable's been routed, I found a nice hole beside the airbox to stuff all the loose cabling into. Now all I need to do is attach the red terminal to the red side of the battery and the black terminal to the negative. Tidy everything up, put the seat back on, cable tie up all the loose cables, and we should be ready to go.
So folks, I'm out for a ride now with my freshly fitted heated grips, doing a bit of a road test. 24 hours after I installed them, so hopefully the glue's nice and dry now and they're nice and solid. And I must say, I'm quite sceptical about a lot of products, but these are brilliant. Even just as grips, if you ignore the heated element, they're so much better than the standard Yamaha ones. They're so comfortable, they're so responsive, they've got a really good grip surface. I'd probably install these even if I wasn't interested in having the heat. But the heated side of it is also very, very good. Morning. I've only got them on the second from bottom setting, and they're lovely and warm. Whoa, water! Shit, I'm in fifth already. And I've only got them on the second from bottom setting, and they're lovely and warm. I don't think they're the complete solution because your fingertips aren't on the grip, so they still get cold. So I've got some bar muffs on order to hopefully trap some of the heat inside. But overall, I think this is a top class product, brilliant product from Oxford. I'm not being sponsored to sell their products or anything, I wish I was. But I think, yeah, it's a very good piece of kit. But I always, on every product, like to look at ways they can be improved, and I've come up with three things I think I'd improve about these. They're pretty minor, but it's all I could come up with. They could offer the mounting bracket in a matte black colour to go more with the black of a lot of bikes, handlebars and stuff. Maybe include a U-bolt as well, so you can mount it any way you want on the handlebars. And lastly, and this is perhaps a bit picky, the electrical connectors. Maybe if they could make them smaller or removable or something, just to make it easier to thread the wiring through all the nooks and crannies of the bike. Because the big white block connectors are a bit tricky when you've got lots of other cables in the way as well. But apart from that, I really can't find fault with them. And from reviews I've read on the internet, they're supposed to be pretty durable as well over the long term. Overall then, top rating from me for these grips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.